Hey there, before you watch the rest of this video, make sure you read the chapter that is due for today.
Good morning, everyone. Today's Proverbs is Proverbs 23. One of the things I like about reading the Proverbs and that we've been going through is how the acquisition of wisdom is so prevalent and so weaved into the story. It kind of reminds you of the importance of seeking wisdom before other things. So when we start off in this chapter, it starts off, it says, when you sit down to eat with the ruler, observe carefully what is before you and put a knife to your throat if you are given to appetite. Now, when I first read that, I was like, wow, that seems like very aggressive terminology. Like, it seems like a very strong admonishment to, like, put a knife to your throat. And that pretty much is telling me, like, what's about to happen is of extreme importance. Like, we should really put a lot of weight into the following information. If it's critical enough where you would stop yourself from eating by putting a knife to your throat, that's telling me that what you're about to read is of importance. So if we continue on, it says, do not desire his delicacies, for they are deceptive food. Do not toil to acquire wealth. Be discerning enough to desist. When your eyes light on it, it is gone, for suddenly it sprouts wings, flying like an eagle toward heaven. And what I took from this is sometimes we can become so preoccupied with the acquisition of wealth or things, material things, and not that they're bad in and of themselves, but when we put a lot of attention on those things, we're not putting our attention on God. And these kinds of things are all fleeting. You know, when we all pass at some point, the things that we have, the material things we have are gone. They stay as we left them. But what's important is our relationship with God, and that's what we carry on, for eternity. So that's what I took from that. Dropping down here to verse number 12, it says, apply your heart to instruction and your ear to words of knowledge. And again, it's following the theme of knowledge and how that should be at the forefront of our pursuits in life, is to gain more knowledge and gain a connection and a relationship with God. And that, I think it's easy to become preoccupied with material, and really that doesn't matter. So that's kind of what I took from that. Going down into verse 13, it talks about the discipline. And I'm sure a lot of us have heard this before. And it says, do not withhold discipline from a child. If you strike him with the rod, he will not die. If you strike him with the rod, you will save his soul from Sheol. And I think, obviously, for those of us who have children, discipline is something that we've either experienced as adults now that going through childhood, or even as a parent. And I think what this is telling me is it's important to discipline your children, but do it from love. A lot of times I think about it like pruning a tree. When you have a tree that's growing, I had a mango tree in the house that I used to live in, and periodically I'd have to prune the tree to get the best mangoes. And that's kind of how it is with our children. I think it's important to kind of cultivate, the children in a way where you set boundaries, but you're doing it from a place of wanting them to be something. And it's not coming from anger, but it's coming from love. And I think that's kind of what I took from that verse there. Now, if we keep going down, one of my favorite verses in this whole chapter is number 15. It says, my son, if your heart is wise, my heart too will be glad. My innermost being will exult when your lips speak what is right. And it's just, God, he takes pleasure in the fact that when we seek wisdom, God takes pleasure in that. And again, that's kind of the reminding us of how important it is to seek wisdom. So dropping down again, we go into number 17, where it says, let not your heart envy sinners, but continue in the fear of the Lord all the day. Surely there is future, and your hope will not be cut off. And what I gathered from that is a lot of times we're always looking externally on people and on other circumstances and kind of thinking maybe they have it better than I do. Maybe this celebrity has it better than I do. They have more money than I do. They have more followers than I do on social media. And we put so much weight in those kinds of things when at the end of the day they mean nothing. But don't envy people. Direct your attention towards God, because your reward is in God. That's who you need to be patterning your life after. So that's what I gathered from that. So the next one, going down to 19, it says, hear my son and be wise, and direct your heart in the way. Be not among drunkards or among gluttonous eaters of meat, for the drunkard and the glutton will come to poverty. And what I took from that, and that the drunkenness is also brought back into the chapter in verse number I believe it's 29. Actually, let me go to that, and then it'll kind of go together. It says in verse 29, who has woe, who has sorrow, who has strife, who has complaining, who has wounds without cause, who has redness of eyes, those who tarry long over wine, those who go to try mixed wine. And don't look, this is the best part, right? Don't look at wine when it is red, when it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. I mean, if the description of when it's sparkling in the cup and it goes down smoothly, that's basically screaming of when you see something that appears to be good, appears to be pleasurable, it's not always the case, and it's not always something worthy of our pursuits. I mean, when you look at that, it says red wine when it's red and it sparkles in the cup and goes down smoothly. I mean, that sounds good, doesn't it? But it's telling you that not everything that looks like that or has that particular appearance is something you should be going for. It's not something you should be pursuing or devoting your attention to. Because afterwards, what it says is, in the end, it bites like a serpent and stings like an adder. Your eyes will see strange things and your heart will utter perverse things. So it looks good, it tastes good, it goes down good, but in the end, it leads to perversion. I mean, it bites like a serpent. I mean, so it's all negative. So I think it's just important to be discerning into what we're putting our time and attention into, because not always what appears to be good is good. And that's what I took from that. Going back up to verse 25, I'm going to kind of reverse a little bit. It talks about the relationship between your father and your mother, and really taking pleasure in pleasing your parents, and honoring your parents. That's one of the 10 commandments. So honor your father and your mother. So it's kind of reminding us to basically honor our elders, right? Respect our elders, and something that you kind of hear as a child coming up. But it's easy to forget that the people that have been there before you have knowledge, again, going back to wisdom, to impart on you. And I've learned so much from people that are older than me. And it's a blessing to have people that are older than us in our lives to impart that knowledge. And then going down to the end of this particular chapter in verse 35, going back to the drunkenness and that thing, it says in verse 35, they struck me, you will say, but I was not hurt. They beat me, but I did not feel it. When shall I awake? I must have another drink. And it's talking about the cycle of life that always kind of brings you back, where you never really get out of it when you're drunk with the things of this world, And I mean, imagine if you're being hit and it didn't hurt, okay? If you're being hit and you didn't even know who hit you, it means you're being delusioned by what's happening. So this chapter was great, and it just reminded me, and I think it can remind you of just really putting our focus on attaining wisdom, honoring our family, honoring our parents, avoiding things of this earth that are a distraction, and really just focusing on God. And the Proverbs are great for that, because they're just nuggets of just knowledge. And I think we could all benefit from just reading more of this and really just getting into the text daily. So that's Proverbs 23.
Now it's time for our fast. You have 3 options for our fast this morning. You can choose to fast for 4 to 6 hours from food, which means no appetizers, no entrees, no desserts, no snacks, only water or 100% fruit juice. Or you can fast for 4 to 6 hours from entertainment, meaning no internet TV or regular TV, no social media, no movies, no gaming. Or you can fast for 4 to 6 hours from your phone. No calls, no texts, no apps, no messages, no video chats or calls. Your phone is turned off or put away for the full 4 to 6 hours. Whether you do this now or later, doesn't matter, as long as you're spending 4 to 6 hours fasting from food, entertainment, or your phone. You pick. Each day can be a different fast, and so we invite you to do this, and we hope that God continues to speak to you today. Let us know how your fast has been going by commenting below, whether on Facebook or YouTube, in the comments section. We hope that you have a blessed day, and we'll see you next time.